talking to Mastin Kipp, #1 best-selling author and creator of Functional Life Coaching. Mastin specializes in a no BS approach, which we'll get into because I find it really interesting, his approach and method, and I have many questions to ask about that. And he's helped over 2 million clients and people that he's reached through his work in their life and their businesses. Mastin has been recognized by Oprah and has been recently named one of Oprah's Super Soul 100, and among many others who continue to inspire me and I'm sure many others like Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle. The list goes on in that core group, and they're named because they're using their voices to elevate humanity. And that's my goal at a grassroots level. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm sharing Mastin. And today I have lots of good questions about Mastin's new book, Mastin Kipp's Claim Your Power, which is absolutely a wake-up call. So Mastin, welcome.
Awesome. Hi, Lori. I'm really excited to be here. And as I was sharing with you offline, we sent out the press versions of the book. So I'm so excited to talk to you about it because I haven't gotten a chance to talk to anybody about it yet because it's not out yet at the time of this interview. So I'm just jazzed to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So one of the things in the book that immediately struck me was first of all, I'm somebody who I feel like my life's together, and maybe I don't need a book like this. But then you open the book and you're like, oh, okay, that's a good nugget, and it seemed to crack open some ideas and things that, even if you think you've got things together, there's growth to happen everywhere. One thing that you said, if you don't mind me quoting, is no matter how hard you try, you'll never get your past back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I thought that was really interesting because whether your past is good or your past is bad, a negative, it's not coming back. So I wanted to, that was hard. That it dives into some harder work. And so I wanted to ask you about your approach, that no BS approach. I mean, it's who you are. You really ask people to work hard and to address kind of the subjects, almost like holding up a mirror to ourselves and getting painfully honest, right?
Sure.
Cracking open.
Yeah, I don't want to scare anybody, but it is real work. And I think that if I had to summarize like what we do, I come from a scientific background. Both my parents have high degrees in biology and science, and so I was raised in the scientific method, which is form a hypothesis, test it, and then try to prove a theory. And most science, running experiments, is all about actually trying to prove things wrong. So if you can prove a hypothesis wrong, how many times you prove it right, it can't be a theory, it can't be universal truth. So for example, E = mc squared, that's a theory until proven otherwise, right? So when I started, getting into drugs and alcohol and addiction and all the issues that I've written about in my first book, Growing into Grace, and I tried to get out of it, I consume personal growth material. And one of the things that I noticed about myself and about the space from a purely sort of, scientific perspective and doing sort of an assessment of the space was it appeared as if most of the tools that we had in the personal development or spiritual space at best was helping us cope better with whatever we're dealing with. So, to me, the 12-step program saves lives, but it helps people cope better. If you look at our current medical system, it helps people cope better. And what I'm into is like, why can't we just resolve the issue? Like, why do I have to have this? It takes seconds to traumatize somebody. Like, why can't it take seconds to untraumatize somebody? And why do we have to be ruled by the past? And why do I carry this stuff around with me? And so while Claim Your Power is certainly not a magic bullet, I don't believe in that. What we do and what the whole purpose of the book and functional life coaching, our whole approach is really to help you stop coping, no matter how good your coping mechanisms are, and help you start living your purpose and actually getting the juice out of life. Because if you're not resolving the underlying hidden blocks that are keeping you stuck, doesn't matter how many mantras you sing, doesn't matter how many green juices you drink, it doesn't matter how many yoga classes you do, like all those things are great. They're just higher level coping mechanisms. You can cope with yoga in a similar fashion, the same way you cope with heroin, if you're not resolving the underlying issues. Now, of course, coping with yoga, probably way better, way healthier for you than heroin, I would say, but it doesn't resolve the underlying issue.
Right.
And so what I was really crystal clear, I was like, hey, like we got to get really clear here about like going like, why am I stuck? Why am I feeling this way? And there's got to be something better than just a coping mechanism. I got to be able to actually dissolve these blocks and work with them. And so I've spent the last decade or so taking that approach and working with clients in retreats and courses and online programs and my coaching programs. And I haven't wanted to release anything until I felt like it was tested enough to say, you know what, this is true. At least it's as true as I can make it. And I've gotten tons of results from our process, the functional process within Claim Your Power. So I'm super jazzed about it. But it is, you know, if you're looking for a coping mechanism, like this is not like the example I would say if you have high cholesterol, right? So like the regular doctor would say, go take a statin to lower your cholesterol. Functional medicine doctor says, why do you have high cholesterol? And what can we do to uncover the underlying issue? And I look at coaching the same way. Like most coaches will say, oh, you want to achieve a goal or you want to overcome depression, like think positive thoughts. That's, well, why are you thinking negative thoughts in the first place? Like, let's uncover the deeper issue there. So we don't just dissociate or, focus on, pretending that something's not there. We want to dissolve the root cause. So for us, I see it as a sort of an innovation and a whole new approach to transforming your life. So it's not just a coping process. It's really a process to help you dissolve the underlying issue. That's the name of the game.
That's awesome. And it is different, and it asks us to do some different things than what I believe we're used to seeing in this genre of I think, what did you call it? And there's spiritual entertainment.
Yes, that's right.
And that kind of struck a chord. Like, whoa, how much do we use such amazing help and content, but we're actually only using it at a surface level and coping instead of going deeper. So I find what I've learned so far, and I'm still new, but what I found is that you're really asking people to go deeper.
And the reason why is because I get thousands of people coming to me going, why is this stuff not working? I feel like I've done everything, but I'm still not changing. So I'm like, okay, let's figure out why. It's been 10 years of research into why. And hopefully, when you get a copy of the book, you'll read it and you'll go, hey, you know what? Like there's some work here to do, but it's like it's the work that's worth doing, right? It's like, it's the work that's going to really transform. I recently lost 50 pounds in 2 months and people said, oh my God, that must've been so difficult. And I said, you know what was difficult was coping with like being at 305 pounds because I didn't know what was wrong. When I discovered the root cause, prediabetes, which is directly related to insulin, and I zeroed in on that, guess what? The weight came off. And that's work that's worth doing. There's no magic bullet. And so the goal is, yes, meditation is great. Yes, green juice is great. Having an anti-inflammatory diet is great, but you've got to dissolve the hidden sort of mental and emotional blocks that are keeping you stuck. And then realize that, like your nervous system doesn't want you to be successful because anything that you do outside of what you're already doing is a level of risk, and your nervous system associates risk and uncertainty with sudden death. So that's why people take 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, and there's that inner conflict because they haven't made their nervous system their ally. They still think that the nervous system is their enemy. And what the process helps people realize is I can actually make my nervous system my friend and utilize it to move me forward rather than have this internal conflict between where my hopes and dreams and heart and soul want to go and where my nervous system will let me go, essentially.
That's off. So, yeah. This is off topic a little bit, but I was reading about your focus on health, and I was really excited because even this morning I had my bulletproof coffee, and awesome. And it was a while back, but I was like, oh, we're the same drinking coffee, and
I got my bulletproof green tea right here.
Oh, awesome! See, and in the last, again for me, it was a kind of a healthy wake up, getting off all the sugars and carbs, and I'm 65 days in, and I've lost 20 pounds. Wow.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Huge.
Total side note, but
that's awesome. No,
yeah,
awesome.
It is like the energy that comes from it, and like it just helps. It helps being present and doing this kind of work and sharing the message that I'm supposed to be sharing rather than focusing on all that other stuff. So,
amen.
Yeah. In the book, you're really supporting people to wake up to their power and their purpose. So on purpose, there's an age-old question, why was I born? So my question is, what does purpose really mean? And can we actually answer that question, why was I born?
Sure. So I think purpose is the one thing that changes everything. So if you're setting goals and you're not feeling fulfilled, if you're having children, you think they're going to make you happy, and then lo and behold, you realize that kids aren't enough just to make you happy. You feel guilty about yourself, or you think getting married is going to make you happy, or making all the money is going to make you happy, or having business success is going to make you happy. If you're out there achieving stuff and you're not quite fulfilled, or if you tried a bunch of things and it hasn't quite worked out, you might be thinking, you know what, I don't know what my purpose is, or I thought I knew what it was, but maybe I lost it. Or maybe you're doubting, do I even have a purpose? Or you're thinking, great, I've found my purpose, but I can't make any money doing that. No one teaches that in school. So there's a lot of confusion around this topic, which is one of the reasons, again, why I wrote the book, because I think that, again, coming from a scientific perspective and background, one of the most important things is having a common definition of terms, right? So like we know across the world, how much 1 cc is. If you're going to go to a hospital, you're going to know 1 cc of an injection for something that's universal. We know what a centimeter is. We know what an inch is. Yet the most important thing, which is our purpose, we don't have a common definition. When I'll go speak in rooms of thousands of people and say, hey guys, what's your definition of purpose? I hear, to give my gift to the world, to follow my calling, to be passionate, to help others. There's all of these sort of vague non-specifics about what purpose is that aren't really actionable and practical, and they're sort of they're ideals, but there's no like practical application to them. And so what I did is I got really specific, and I wanted to write a book that could apply to everybody, because I don't think purpose is necessarily just a religious thing. I think, when you hear the word purpose, one of the books that comes to mind is A Purpose-Driven Life. It's a fantastic book by Rick Warren, who's a Christian pastor. But purpose is so much more than religion. Purpose is really, if you think about what a purpose is, what's the purpose of a car, what's the purpose of a computer, it's what you were made for. It's like, what's your usefulness? Like, what can I do to feel fully used and fully engaged with life? And ultimately, it's a very simple answer. And before I share with you what the answer is, anyone who's listening to this, I want to preface you by saying, do not confuse simple things with easy things. And do not think that just because something's simple that you write it off, because a lot of times people like to overcomplicate things and think that you need some quantum physics rocket science answer that has 13,000 steps before you get to the conclusion. Then that's the only way it can be correct, is if it's super significantly complicated, when really you look at most wisdom, and most wisdom is super simple, and we overlook it because we're trying to overcomplicate things. So don't overcomplicate what I'm about to say, and don't write it off as some sort of simple fact, because it's highly profound what I'm about to say. Ultimately, when you look at what we want to achieve in life, whether it's feel more connected to your creator, have a soulmate relationship, lose weight, make more money, like become president, you like the president, you don't like the president, you want to make a change in the world, you want to build schools in Africa, you want to make the world a better place, you want to disrupt the technology, like whatever the outward goal is, you want to set that goal not for the goal itself, but because of how you think the goal will make you feel. And so what we have to realize is most of life is an emotional game, but we're going for the wrong focus. So we think that when I get the relationship, then I'll be happy. God forbid, if that's your equation that you're running, you are setting yourself up for pain, right? Or if I have a child, then I'll be happy. Or if my dad finally says he's proud of me, then I'll be happy. Or if my mom would just love me, then I would be happy. There's all of these if-then statements that are focused externally on other people. You can think of it like we have this emotional debt with folks. And it's similar to like financial debt. When you go into financial debt, there's a lender that you owe money to. And if you don't pay them, they come calling. And it affects your credit, right? And it's like, it feels really heavy. And the same thing is true on an emotional level. If you think that your purpose is to be a parent, or to start a business, or to be a child, or to be in a soulmate relationship, or to help the world, or whatever the outward focus is, if you think that's what your purpose is, then when one of those things disappears, you're going to feel like you have no purpose. And if you feel like you have no purpose, well, that's what leads to suicidal thinking, right? So it can't just be what I do as my purpose. It's actually who you're being. And on a very practical level, what your purpose is, it's an emotion that you cultivate within yourself, and then you share it with the world in form of service. And it's really that simple. And people hear that and they go, emotion? What are you talking about, Mastin? Let me break it down how important this is. So if you have a really vibrant emotional culture in a company, that's called a company culture. And that's the secret sauce of like Apple or Zappos or any, insert Pixar, any successful, innovative company is a great company culture. If you can take those same emotions and then transmit that to a customer on an emotional level, not just on a transactional level, but on an emotional level, that's what produces what's called raving fans. And raving fans are like what every company wants, right? And so you look at like Tesla, you better believe they have an emotional relationship with their clients. Like I have a Tesla hat. I don't even own a Tesla, but I wear that thing. I get like bombarded by Tesla owners. Like, oh my God. And they're all like super excited. So you have to understand that, having an emotional connection within your company produces better profits. Having an emotional connection to your, consumer produces, repeat purchases. This is the secret sauce. And if you look at like a soulmate relationship, if you have an emotionally rich relationship, that's the whole fairy tale, right? Like nobody wants to be the princess alone in a castle with some rich guy buying her presents. Like we've all seen Titanic, right? Like go for Jack, right? So it's like you want that emotional wealth. So an emotionally rich relationship is called a soulmate relationship that all the epic poems and all the epic stories are written about. It's all what we yearn for. So the emotional content, the emotional game translates into every single area of life. It has a direct relationship to your health, has a direct relationship to your finances, to every area of your life. And so if you don't realize that life's an emotional game and you're trying to hit emotional targets, and even worse, if you think something externally is what's going to give you those emotions, almost like a lender, you're going to be drained. You're going to be blaming people. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to have a sense of like something missing. I don't know what it is. I feel like a bad parent. I have a child. It's not enough. What's wrong with me? You're going to be a Republican who can't talk to a Democrat. You're going to be a Democrat who can't talk to a Republican. And a lot of the divide that you see today, whether it's, the sort of racism that you're seeing or the xenophobia that you're seeing or the fact that Republicans and Democrats aren't allowed to talk to each other anymore. I don't know when that rule was invented. The fact that if you're a Democrat, you can't even utter the president's name without someone being offended. That tells me that we're off purpose, because when you know what your purpose is, none of that stuff matters, because you're like, you know what? There's problems. I'm bringing a solution, and it's a complete game changer. So I think the sign of the times right now is a call to remember America's purpose, remember our purpose, and recognize that we all, whether we're black, white, Christian, Jew, doesn't matter what our race, creed, religion, sexual preference is, that we all have sort of an innate birthright to bring our purpose forward, to make that something real in the world. And that's really, I think, the sign of the times, because when you're on purpose, you don't got time to blame people. You don't got time to focus on what's wrong. You're too busy adding value and serving others. So I think that, I look out into the world today, I see a really awesome opportunity for a wake-up call, which is what you said the book is. So the fact that that's how it's resonating is super exciting to me. So that's awesome.
Wow. That's amazing. So I have you inspire a lot of people. Already you worked with over 2 million, and your work is very profound. I want to ask you who and what inspires you, and I know a lot of people may know this, you talk about it, but maybe there's something else you want to mention. So who inspires you, and what has been one of your great lessons on your journey?
Sure. I mean, I look at inspiration a little in sort of like segments or sections. I have my teachers, my mentors, right? People who I've looked up to, who've helped me on my path, like Carolyn Mace, Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung, William James, Milton Erickson, Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls. Like these are the people I've studied, the people I look up to, and there's a lot more people. That's just a few. And they've inspired me. Jesus is probably one of my favorite teachers in the world. Buddha had some good things to say. So all those people really inspire me to help me kind of like remember what's true, to push me, to help me grow, to make distinctions. I would not be doing what I'm doing today without Tony, and him like seeing what he's created really gave me a model for like, oh yeah, that's the direction I want to go in. I've never seen anything like that before. So for sure, like that has been a really amazing thing. I think on like a real like who like blows my mind, I'm gonna give you an answer that's probably not sexy. But it's basically like sort of like my girlfriend. She is amazing and incredible.
Jenna, right?
Like we're partners in crime, and like she's just like she's just like love incarnate. I can't even describe it. And she is just such a pure vessel of love. And us together, we have this coaching process and company that we work through, and our clients, when we work with our clients, I gotta say, Lori, like it's one thing to become a best-selling author and to have your friends have big lists, email about and stuff like that, which is all well and good, and I'm super grateful for it. When I see someone who like comes into a program, takes a leap of faith, they're scared to death, they're processing trauma, they have no idea that what I'm saying to them is possible or true, and then they like quit their job and they actually take action. That is so inspiring to me because it's like cool to be a celebrated coach or whatever. Like that's I never got into that for this. I was a manager in the music business and I had my time with celebrity and I was very unimpressed with it. I'm very much focused on transformation. But when I look at our clients and what they're doing and how they're showing up and the trauma that they're processing and like they're becoming more for their family and they're embodying these principles and they're realizing when I live my purpose, I can provide more for my family, or when I live my purpose, that's when I bring my soulmate in, or I'm allowed to hit publish on Facebook and be seen. Like when I see someone who like steps into something courageous, they do it courageously, they do it imperfectly, they do it messy, and they keep doing it. Like that lights me up more than like seeing the Dalai Lama. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I love the Dalai Lama. But when you see someone who just like takes that risk and they're kind of like, walking out on faith, like that just inspires me to no end, more than anything else, for sure.
And that speaks so much to the inspiration isn't out there; it's actually closer to home than one might think, right?
Amen. And I don't get me wrong, I fill my mind with wisdom all the time, right? But it's like Jesus said something profound 2,000 years ago. That's over, right? Like seeing people taking present moment action today. That is amazing because, ultimately that's what Jesus or any spiritual teacher represents, is this idea of, putting into action these truths, which is very difficult to do. There's a lot of things that are against us saying like, no, you can't move forward. So when someone actually has the audacity to do it or the insanity almost to do it, lights me up like crazy.
And it's interesting, you talk about Jesus and Buddha and others, and Oprah. I can't remember it's spiritual thinker for the next generation. And did you know that that's where your work would take you? Because I think it's amazing how there are these young spiritual thinkers like yourself that are making it accessible and making it almost like giving people that don't necessarily have religion in their lives or aren't spiritual, bringing it to them. And yeah. Did you know that was the way you were going?
No clue. Deepak once said, every sinner has a future, every saint has a past. Like if you look into my past, like, I did many things I'm not proud of. So yeah, I mean, it's of all the events, it's a highly unlikely outcome. But, I think one of the reasons why you're seeing people get this younger and younger is I think because of the internet and just being able to be exposed to it. Because if I had released my book 20, 30 years ago, it would have had limited distribution and it would be in the occult section, right? Like that's where it would be. Not that long ago, Richard Gere came out as a Buddhist that caused a huge uproar. Now it's like trendy,
Yeah.
So like, I think it's just a sign of the times too. And I think we're in a more connected world. And I also think that, spiritual truths are spiritual truths regardless of who said it, whether it's Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Moses, Abraham, whoever. Truth is truth is truth. And I think that if you look at almost every teacher that I can think of, especially in the Abrahamic traditions, but almost all of them, on a certain level, came to say, hey, the way that you're doing stuff with these rules and this dogma is not correct. It's about how you're being. It's about the essence of how you're showing up. And, Jesus wasn't a Christian. He actually came in and said, hey, Pharisees, like, you're doing all this stuff for ritual's sake, but your heart's not in it, essentially. And that's what they were super offended by that, because it seemed like blasphemous. So I think that, you look at like spiritual teachers and they were not teaching dogma. They were teaching a way of being. And, like all of them have said, Jesus famously has said, even the least among you can do greater things than I. So I see it as a manual for life, rather than something that I'm separate from, that's some sky god. And you look at without getting too into it, you look at the history of the Christian faith after the Council of Nicaea, where politicians came through and decided what would or would not be in the Bible. Massive difference in the Christian faith and religion towards money, power, prestige, control. You look at someone like Jesus was born in a manger, he would not be at the Vatican, would not be there. It's all this power and all this, fancy sort of decor. This Pope that we have right now is amazing because he's kissing the beggar's feet in the street. That's a Christ-like move. But I think that people are fed up with this sense of like, do as I say, not as I do, and they're seeking truth beyond, I guess, the right wrong dogma. And so I've been really clear, like in my work, to separate what I think is spiritual truth from the money, power, and control of people who are trying to essentially profit off of a religion, which I don't think is ever a good idea.
Right. Earlier you touched base on the emotions that we experience, and in your book you talk more about that. And my question on that, because I think it's so profound, and I always liked Josh Pais. He has this saying, "Ride it, don't hide it." And
totally.
It's like a mantra that kind of, because it just kind of rings. But could you speak on how we experience both positive and negative emotion, and what that means to you and for this journey that we're going on?
Sure. Yeah. Again, this is one of those like really simple answers where you're like, that's it. But yeah, like that's it. So you can think of emotion similar to sensations in the body. So that's all it really is a sensation in the body. And we give it really weird names like panic attack. Like who would ever call a sensation in the body that? Like just the name alone makes you like stressed out, right? Versus energy surge. So it's how you label emotion is really important. So I think that when let's just say you're walking down the street and you step on a nail, your foot will signal pain to the brain for a very valid reason, because your body's been punctured and you're wounded and you need to pay attention to that. So what we tend to do when we experience negative emotion is we think, oh, no, I can't feel that. Let me numb it, which is no different than like, okay, I have a nail in my foot. Instead of looking at it, taking out, disinfecting it and moving on and healing from it, I'm going to just inject it with a bunch of painkiller and hope it goes away, which, if you leave that long enough, it'll go gangrene, your whole body will die, right? So like the same thing is true emotionally, but the problem with emotions is that they're invisible. You can't see them. So, the anger, the rage, the depression, the sadness, the guilt, the nervous system doesn't want to feel that stuff. It pushes it down. We're trained not to feel on a certain level, and we dissociate through so many different forms today with distraction has never been higher. And so we just push it down and push it down and push it down. And then we cope. We cope with food. We cope with sex. We cope with addiction. We cope with blaming each other. We cope with information online. We cope with so many different things. You can cope with mantras and yoga. You can cope with green juice if you're not doing the underlying work. And when you start to descend into your emotional body, which is really, it takes some time to get there. It can be scary. And you're not going to meet your happy emotions first. You're going to look at the sadness, the darkness, the negativity. And from a purely pathological perspective, if you're diagnosing something, the pathology report is like what's wrong with you, right? Well, if you start focusing if you say I'm experiencing negative emotion, well, someone who's just going for pathology might say, well, you're depressed. Here, take a pill. But the problem is everybody who's on an antidepressant on a certain level is still depressed. And I'm not against medication. I opened my book by saying, it saves lives. I'm on prescription medication to this day, but you can't look at a pill as the thing that's going to make you happy. You got to ask questions like, are you living your purpose? Are you in a soul-sucking job? Are you selling your soul for a paycheck? Are you in a toxic relationship? Do you have any mold issues in your body? Do you have inflammation in your body? How's your gut doing? How's your brain doing? And you want to look at all those things way before you make some diagnosis. And ultimately, if you believe that you're a unique soul born from a loving creator here to give a unique gift to the world and express it in only the way that you can, and you're not doing that, of course you're going to be depressed because you're not doing the very thing that you were made to do. So, I've never met someone who's doing what they love has a hard time with ADD. Like you put me in an accounting class, like, and I just hate it. Like all of a sudden I have ADD. So I don't think people have a hard time focusing on what they love to do. So I think that a lot of times, we want to feel joy and happiness and excitement and love and connection and belonging, but we find that there's a threat to making that happen because typically the nervous system associates positive emotion with threats because we're vulnerable in those moments. So we actually recreate the stress, the pain, and the trauma over and over and over again, and we push everything down. And so what I got to do is you come work with me. We're going to like uproot that stuff, do a little root canal emotionally, and help you get underneath that and figure out why are you feeling this way. And you'll realize there's a really valid reason. Like there's nothing wrong with you. If you've been through what you've been through and you decided that life was interpreted the way that you'd interpreted it, of course you're going to feel the way that you feel. So there's nothing wrong with that. We just have to realize that instead of looking at yourself as a broken project that needs to be fixed, maybe there's a good dang reason why you feel that way. Let's figure out why. Let's see if the interpretation you gave of the events of your life is accurate. And let's see how we can harvest the good and ultimately serve other people. Like, you start to do that and you supplement with a medication, then you're going to be happy. But, medication is not going to solve a spiritual problem. It's not going to happen. So it's all an emotional game. Life is 100% an emotional game.
Yeah.
And people it's scary to feel those negative feelings, but no one's ever died from a somatic experience.
So something you said, I thought was really, again, like simple, but not to be overlooked and extremely profound, is you claim your power with a choice. And I thought maybe I'd ask you to speak to the power in our choices.
Sure. Well, you can either look to a religious source or quantum physics. I don't care what you're into, right? I can talk to a Christian. I can talk to a Richard Dawkins about this. The idea is we all have free will, and when you're looking at like quantum physics, the problem with trying to model quantum physics is we don't have a full model with it because people's choices are unpredictable. Right? And so from a spiritual perspective, we've been given choice because otherwise we'd just be obedient slaves. So when you look at your life, like the only power you have is the power of choice, but you've got to overcome the nervous system, which is making lots of choices unconsciously for you that you don't even know it's making. So when people say we don't have free will, what they're really saying is, I don't have enough control over my unconscious nervous system to understand how to override it. So what I do is I help people get really crystal clear on their unconscious decisions or their hidden decisions that they've made and realize, hey, do you realize that you have a 7-year-old version of you that's deciding the outcome of your romantic life because you decided at 7 years old that men can't be trusted because dad left? Like, that's insane. Like, one man can't be trusted, not all men. And the nervous system also generalizes. So when we go through a painful event, it generalizes, deletes, and distorts things. So, if you've ever been in a relationship and gotten betrayed, maybe you got cheated on, the nervous system will say, not that person, but all men are cheaters. Or they'll say, there's this generalization because we want to stay safe. So what we have to realize is, like, you made a choice, unconsciously or unconsciously, that, to generalize. We got to take that back and we got to decide, what, like, no matter what's happened in my life, like the worst thing that's happened to me, whatever it is, maybe I can't control what happened to me, but from this moment forward, I can control how I choose to respond. And therefore, we don't change the past, but we change how we relate to the past. And if we change how we relate to the past, we change our future. And that's the name of the game. And so I think one of the biggest lessons people can get is if you can get to a place where you decide, you know what, regardless of what's happened to me, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for my life and the outcomes of my life and how I've responded to things in my life, then you start to take your power back. And the cool thing is, no matter what you've been through, if you can start to realize that you can, on a certain level, your trauma has been a prerequisite for your purpose. On a certain level, the pain that you've been through has been a setup to help you serve other people. Then we don't necessarily get rid of what's happened to you in the past, but we can bring meaning to it. And when you bring meaning to the pain of the past, it transforms it into fertilizer. And ultimately, it's the best revenge for whoever hurts you, is if you can overcome that and serve other people, then that person will not win. And I think trauma is hereditary, it gets passed down. And so, if you're waking up from a series of family history of trauma and you're the first one to wake up, you're stopping that pattern for your whole family. It's a big deal. So I think, all of that comes down to choice. And the number one choice we get to ask ourselves is, what does this mean? Or what is my interpretation of what's happening right now? And that is pretty much the only choice that we have, but it's the most powerful choice. And Viktor Frankl discovered this in Auschwitz when he was there, and he lost most of his family to the Nazis, and he created logos therapy as a result. And it's pretty much stimulus, response, and in between is a choice, and that choice point is where our power lies.
Wow, that's incredible. And when I wrote that question down, and what I was thinking about was some of the choices that I've had to make, and it's not the work after the choice that's hard. It's actually that threshold of the decision, that is the hard part.
Well, the thing about indecision is that if you live in indecision for too long, you're actually training your nervous system to disobey your intuition, which is never a good idea. So like the goal is like make a decision and figure it out afterwards.
That's so. This book, I'm super excited for this book.
Awesome.
I want to ask you, what do you want? What do you want for those who go through this work with you? What do you see as next for them?
I think I think my hope is in writing this book that when you read it, you have a lot of clarity around why you're stuck. And you also have a lot of hope about the life that you can create. Like that would be awesome. I think that this book has the potential to be the companion for any transformational process. So whether you're in a 12-step program, you're going through therapy, you're going through a coaching process, you want to start a business, you're going through a relationship process, like it really deals with some of the core fundamental issues that human beings are faced with. So it can apply to almost every area of your life, not because it's some magic pill, but because there's certain core universal truths that are just true, and they're true with you. And when you change one area of your life, every area of your life starts to transform and change. So my hope is that it's a really practical guide and people have some real ahas. And my ultimate goal, ultimate hope is that they get into action around it and they stop thinking that their vision board is enough. They stop
Yeah.
thinking that, wearing Lululemon is enough. Like, God bless Lululemon. Like, I love those guys. But, like, that doesn't make you a spiritual person. What makes you a spiritual person is how well you process your trauma, how much you're serving other people, and are you living the life that you're posting about on Instagram? Like, that's really the question. And, we live in a world today of such a quick facades that it's very easy to say, to assume someone's a certain way. But my goal is, what are you doing in private?
Yeah.
And to change that conversation because, I think the world is at a tipping point where we're either going to get fed up or we're going to grow up. And I'm hoping that be a part of that maturation process.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I feel so humbled and lucky to be able to share your message with everybody. And I just want maybe I'll ask you where can people work with you? Where can they tap into
Oh,
your work? Where do we send them?
oh, awesome. Thanks, Lori. Well, I think so for the book, claimyourpowerbook.com. Everything is there, and I've put together a companion course to help you go through it because what I don't want is I don't want Claim Your Power to be more information. Like there's another course that you get or a book that you read that you don't actually act on. So there's a free complimentary sort of implementation process with the book so that you can go through the process with me as your coach and help you actually follow through so that there's it's not just more information, but we can actually help you implement. So it's over at claimyourpowerbook.com. And then my main website is just mastinkip.com, and everything about me is there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for today, and I look forward to actually working in the book in the process even more. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me today. It's been an awesome time talking with you. You asked some really great questions. I'm super grateful.
Okay.